Three stories broke about Elon Musk. Any single one of these stories would have been damning for Elon Musk and his companies. But three in 1 week, especially kind of on the same topic, starts to paint a picture that I'm very, very familiar with. And that is this: in every dysfunctional tech organization that I've worked in, there is always a person in charge who has a bunch of ideas. They are just visiting the good idea fairy every evening. They have great ideas and then they make these promises. But then, as it usually turns out, they're terrible at the only thing that matters, which is delivering on those promises, building. If you're new here, I'm Dr. J. I have a PhD. I've been an engineering director. I'm very used to sitting in the room where these decisions are made. Let's break down what's going on with Elon and his companies this past week so you can make an informed decision about investing or maybe sitting on the sidelines. Let's start with the number. It's a big number, $1.5 trillion. I don't even know how much that is, if I'm being honest. I have no idea how big 1.5 trillion is. It's an imaginary number to me, of imaginary size. But I gave it kind of the benefit of the doubt. I saw this headline hit my phone earlier this week. I got the perplexity alert that, hey, they're chasing a $1.5 trillion valuation. And I thought, it's aerospace. I don't really know too much about the space side of things. Like, maybe this is kind of a normal valuation for going into space, for building rockets. Seems like an expensive endeavor. You got to hire expensive people. You have to use expensive gear. Stuff blows up while you're learning things, while you're trying to figure out how to get the rocket to work. So it seems like a very, very, very expensive thing to do. And so I dug into the numbers. And what it turned up was quite odd. Their current revenue is about $15 billion, which is a lot, but it is far smaller than 1.5 trillion, which means they have a 100x price to sales ratio. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that 1.5 trillion is 100 times bigger than 15 billion. So it's a 100x price to sales ratio. And I compared this across other aerospace companies to see, is this in the realm of normal? You usually try to sell the company or get a valuation at 100x of what your sales are. And no, very, very far off the mark. So it turns out most legacy aerospace trades at 1.5x to 3x. And I get that Elon has made some efficiency gains here. He's fired a lot of American workers and brought in a lot of visa workers to overheads, things like that. But I don't think that he's doing 20 to 30 times better than those legacy aerospace corporations. And so I kept pulling the thread to figure out, how do I contextualize this money? And so if we do a little bit of a thought experiment here, we take that 1.5 trillion and we cut it in half-ish. Let's just call it 800 billion. Let's say 800 billion is a more reasonable valuation to be chasing. It's not, but let's say we cut it in half. We call Elon up and we say, investors are going to freak on that. We got to cut it down to 800 billion. If you take the largest 6 aerospace companies in the US, that would be Raytheon, Boeing, Lockheed, General Dynamics, Northrop, and L. Harris, and you took all of their market caps and added them up, they would still be less than $800 billion, which is half the valuation that SpaceX is chasing. If we look at the trajectory of the valuation of SpaceX, it paints another very strange picture because at some point, things exploded for them, apparently. In October 2021, valuation was about $1 billion. May 2022, 127 billion. December 2024, a couple years later, jump up to 350 billion. Another year later, December 2025, 800 billion. And they're chasing now a valuation of 1.5 trillion, which is double. The government is the primary customer here. If we run through just some of their big hits for revenue, we have 38 billion plus in total government contracts, loans, subsidies, tax credits to Musk companies since 2003. Washington Post cited that research. 9.5 billion in SpaceX defense contracts specifically. 5.9 billion for NSSL Phase 3 Lane 2 contract. And we don't need to get into it, but NSSL is associated with mission critical, high security, Space Force related launches. Then you got a 1.8 billion classified NRO Starshield spy satellite network and 843 million for the NASA orbit vehicle. So it'd be the ISS down out of orbit. So the company that depends on $38 billion in government money is about to IPO at 100x revenue. Let's take SpaceX. Let's keep it in the back of our mind, and let's hop to another one of Musk's companies as we continue this train of thought. On January 28th, Tesla did something that it has never done before in its entire history as a public company. Revenue went down. And Elon's totally insane, out of touch with reality response is, let's cut two of our vehicles from our product line and convert the factory to build robots that do not exist yet. To put that in numbers, if we look at their 2025 revenue, it was 94.83 billion, which is down 3% from their 2024 revenue of 97.7 billion. It's their first ever annual decline. And if you've been following stocks or finance at all in the past year, you'd know that pretty much whatever you put your money into this year, due to the weakening of the dollar, that stock probably would have gone up. So they can't even beat an ETF in terms of return on investment for a regular investor. And a 3% drop is bad, but what's worse is what happened in Q4. Their Q4 net income year over year, so compared to last year Q4, plunged 61%. And overall, their automotive revenue dropped from about 10 to 11%. And my hunch is this is down for a lot of international sales. BYD, which is a Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer, which by all appearances is making a fine car, is up 28% this year in revenue. And BYD, I had seen them online before. I've seen some videos of them. Looks like a great car at a great price. Sorry to say that about a Chinese company, but it's the truth. And I actually saw a couple. I was in Lisbon, Portugal about a month ago, and I saw a couple of BYD cars driving around. I mean, they look great and they're very, very cheap. They're inexpensive. And as it turns out, Europe is actually the market that is really hurting Tesla quite a bit. You can't buy a BYD car in America yet because of, the China thing. It's probably a sane decision. But in Europe, you can buy them. And their European market share, Tesla's European market share, is down over the past 2 years from 2.4% to just 1.4%. Their sales are down 38.8%, which is a huge decrease. I mean, that's rough. Sales are down almost 40%, and China is stealing your lunch. Elon is going all in on his humanoid robot called Optimus. You may have seen some videos about this circulating. He had a big launch event for them a little while back. And the big scandal that came out of that is that there were human operators basically piloting the humanoid robots. So they don't even work. Despite this, he's killed off the Model S Tesla and the Model X Tesla, and he's converting the Fremont factory to robot production. His target being 1 million Optimus robots produced per year. If you're curious about current commercial sales of the Optimus robot, they're zero. They're zero. So you don't need to be curious. We have the numbers on that. They're zero. They've not sold any of these Optimus robots, but he said, let's kill off 2 cars that people are buying. Even if they're buying less of, they're still buying them. Let's clear out this whole warehouse. And instead of making stuff that people are buying, let's build humanoid robots, despite the fact that we have no sales for them and we can't get them to work yet. This is straight out of the Elon playbook. This is not even a weird thing for Elon. This is a pattern. Quote from Musk on that is, because it is a completely new supply chain, there's really nothing from the existing supply chain that exists in Optimus. Solid logic. Yeah, burn down the whole factory. We got to start making these robots that nobody's buying. And despite this, if you needed a sign that the stock was overinflated, that they were overvalued, the stock is still trading at 200 to 300x forward earnings. And the analyst intrinsic value is $45, which is a laugh because on the market, these shares are going for $435. Uh-oh. So in summary, for the Tesla news, we have revenue declining, market share collapsing, stock price disconnected from reality. But this isn't new. This is the pattern. Let me show you how this has been progressing through the years. I want to show you something. This is a timeline. Every single promise Elon Musk has made about full self-driving and what actually happened. It starts in 2013 and it does not get better, as you can see. Let's go through this timeline and column of the hits. September 2013, 90% autonomous within 3 years. This is for full self-driving. Still in level 2, present day, 2026. I have a Model Y in the garage, still not fully autonomous. Still not 90% autonomous, honestly. October 2016, coast-to-coast demo of full self-driving by end of 2017. Achieved December 2025, 8 years late by a customer, not Tesla. April 2017, sleep in your Tesla in about 2 years. Still illegal in 2026. April 2019, 1 million robotaxis by 2020. Zero until June 2025. July 2020, we will be very close to level 5, still level 2 in 2026, as I've mentioned. And while they were selling you and I Teslas, they knew that they couldn't meet these deadlines. And I'll tell you how they knew. They admitted the 2016 to 2023 vehicles lack the proper hardware for full autonomy. So why did they promise full autonomy in those vehicles if they knew that the hardware was insufficient to offer it? And we even have a direct claim about this. There's a claim, October 2016, that all Teslas being produced now have full self-driving hardware, when transparently that wasn't true. And it wasn't like kind of true half the year. They didn't have that until 2024. One that I'm really bummed about. I mean, I was stoked when the Cybertruck came out. I had a pre-order in for a couple of years. I paid the $100, $200, whatever, to reserve a spot. I ended up, after they didn't produce for a couple of years, getting a refund because I'm like, this is one of Elon's schemes again. They're never going to build this freaking thing. And they did, but they gimped the hell out of it. I mean, it looks like trash compared to the original mock-ups. It doesn't work like they said it would. It's the regular Elon playbook for this sort of thing. So let's go through a couple of the timeline promises versus realities for the Cybertruck. It's unveiled November 2019. Dr. J puts in his pre-order. It's unveiled for $39,000, slotted for late 2021 production. At that time, I thought, pretty good. I wasn't making the kind of money where I could afford a $40K car, but I'm like, 2 or 3 years, I'll be good to go. Let's slap some money down on that now. Delivered 2+ years late in November 2023 with a 50 to 75% price increase. So I'm glad I canceled my pre-order. It released for between, depending on your options and your loadout, 60K and 100K. They promised a 500-mile range, and they delivered with 36% less at a 320-mile range. They promised 14,000 pounds of towing. You got 11,000 pounds. They promised 3,500 pounds of payload, which is just very, very standard for a pickup truck of that size. But you actually got 2,500. But maybe they've just been focused on more of the commercial sector and they're chugging out semis, and those are going well, right? Incorrect. Unveiled 2017 Tesla Semi for 150K to 180K 2019 production. Current state of things, only dozens have been delivered, pilot only. So they're 7+ years late on their launch projections, and they're selling for 300,000 to 415,000. And one of their big customers, Ryder, cut their order from 42 to 18, citing, quote, dramatic changes to Tesla product economics. Yeah, no shit, that is putting it lightly, my friend. Finally, my favorite flop of them all, the Model 2, was promised on Battery Day 2020 for 25K. It was canceled in April 2024, and then Musk called Reuters, quote unquote, liars for reporting the cancellation, which he did cancel it. Then he doubled down on this in October, saying, quote, having a regular 25K model is pointless. This may have seemed pedantic, but you have a guy that has not been able to deliver on really a single major timeline at his own company. Now imagine taking that guy and giving him control of a federal budget. So here's the wildest thing that nobody is saying out loud. You're not going to find this in a lot of other reporting elsewhere, certainly not in the mainstream media. The Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations counted 65 regulatory actions against Musk's companies, $2.37 billion in potential liability from 11 different agencies. Musk then got control of DOGE. You fail upwards in this administration. And then he started gutting the agencies that leveled these decisions and charges against him. Do you think some amount of pettiness or retribution may have been involved in that strategy? If you think, hey, that's hand-wavy, doctor, little conspiracy theory for me, let's bring it back to facts. Fair enough. I have facts for you. You know that I have facts on this channel. Let's go through each of the facts until you're satisfied that this is truly what's going on, that he's just a vindictive guy. Let's start with the FAA, which regulates every SpaceX launch. You got to get the FAA's blessing if you're going to send something into space. They proposed 633K fines against SpaceX for their 2023 violations. Musk publicly called for the FAA administrator's removal, and then Whitaker resigned on Inauguration Day. Furthermore, the FAA is now considering canceling a $2.4 billion Verizon contract in favor of. Then you have the CFPB, which regulates Tesla lending and X Money. Musk tweeted, delete CFPB before X payment platform launched. He then, as part of DOGE, accessed CFPB headquarters, posted CFPB RIP with the gravestone emoji, and then gutted the agency. Then, in what is one of the juiciest ones, the NLRB, which has active cases against SpaceX and Tesla. And I know some people that have been involved in these. I'm not going to get into too many specifics, but his business and labor practices are abhorrent. You can read about the working conditions there elsewhere from people that have seen it firsthand, but it is really abysmal, toxic, exploitative, and unsustainable, frankly. And once DOGE got access to systems, a whistleblower by the name of Daniel Baroulis alleged that DOGE exfiltrated sensitive data, including union organizing activities, employee identities, and legal strategies. So if they're driving employees too hard, if they're saying you must sleep at the factory, you must work 80 to 100 hours a week, and a few of those people start to get talking, say, man, he's really putting our nose to the grindstone. It's hard to see my family outside of this job. We should organize so that we have sane boundaries around a 40-hour work week. Elon went into the system and found out who you were and where you were organizing and what you were organizing to do. So presumably he could proactively bust those unions. And who knows who he's in cahoots with. A Russian IP attempted to log into NLRB systems shortly after DOGE was given access. I'm not saying that this was intentional, but it does smell bad. Even if there was no malicious intent there, that means that whatever DOGE was doing, they compromised security to a level at which this could actually happen. And then the real cherry on top here is that SpaceX is also suing to declare the NLRB unconstitutional. It's like one of the few worker protections that people have in this country. This is one of the organizations responsible for maintaining those. SpaceX is saying like, no, workers have no rights. You must work the 100-hour weeks, and you must do it for low pay, or we will import other people on a visa to do it for cheaper. The human cost here is quite clear. We can quantify this in numbers very easily. DOGE fired 322,049 federal employees. That's a 13.7% decrease. He gutted U.S. aid from 4,800 employees to 378. That's a 92% reduction. Department of Education, a 41% reduction, and the IRS, 19,200 employees gone, a 25% reduction. And if you're like me, you would, in principle, at least cheer these things on. The government is bloated. It is inefficient. It is slow moving. It needs a shakeup. I think everyone agrees with that. When you find these intersections of the tech world working with the government, there's a lot of opportunity for speed up and efficiency and innovation there, which is a good thing. What you can't do to a system that's been around for a very long time is you cannot just go in and gut these systems willy-nilly. These things can be done, but they have to be done slowly. They have to be done with careful consideration as to what the fallout and after effects will be. It's easy to claim a quick win from quarter to quarter on something, but anybody who's been in a leadership position for any amount of time will tell you a leader is not judged in the time span of 3 months to 6 months. They're judged from year to year. And so the long-term consequences of this, we're still waiting to see, but it's concerning that nobody's tracking it. So again, I won't agree with it. I won't disagree with this. It's directionally, it seems correct that these things are bloated, but why are you making the cuts other than, potential retaliation against some of these organizations because they've levied charges against you and your companies that could hurt you? And how much of this is we got rid of this job function because of this reason, which could be valid. The courts are not impressed. There are 14 plus lawsuits citing Privacy Act violations that DOGE has taken place in. A couple of judges have gone on record. Judge Chutkan says that Musk, quote, makes decisions about federal expenditures, contracts, government property, the very existence of federal agencies. Judge Coate says that the DOGE data access was, quote, a breach of law and trust, affecting, quote, tens of millions of Americans. And this is not his first time being caught. The SEC has been here before with Musk. More 20. That's the number Elon Musk picked for his fake Tesla buyout price. The SEC asked why. His answer, and I'm quoting the settlement document, he thought his girlfriend would find it funny because of the number's association with marijuana. He was the CEO of a publicly traded company. This cost shareholders millions. It's not funny when you're a publicly traded company and you are disenfranchising people based on a joke you wanted to tell. Then it's not actually very funny. This comes from an August 7th, 2018 tweet where he says, "Am considering taking Tesla private at 420, funding secured." The SEC found no discussions with his financing partners leading up to this. And again, found out that the root of that price comes back to a marijuana joke. The settlement was honestly pretty light. It was $20 million from Musk, $20 million from Tesla, removed as the chairman for 3 years, and tweet approval required, which is kind of humiliating. To name a couple other run-ins with the SEC, just high level, there's the Solar City bailout, which was a $2.6 billion acquisition of his cousin's company. That's Lennon and Peter Rive. Shareholders sued for $13 billion, alleging that he caused financial distress for the company. Musk won, but the court said that Elon was more involved in the process than a conflicted fiduciary should be. Then there's the SEC January 2025 lawsuit, which is still ongoing, where he failed to disclose a 9.2% Twitter ownership and underpaid by $150 million or more. The Hyperloop, interesting theory on this. Ashley Vance's biography quotes Musk saying that the idea for the Hyperloop originated out of, quote, hatred for California's proposed high-speed rail. And she goes on to assert that he didn't actually intend to even build the Hyperloop when he announced it past a couple of initial demos. He just wanted to drum up enough competition for the high-speed rail, sway investors, maybe sway some tax bucks over to him so that the high-speed rail would get canceled. And honestly, this conspiracy kind of adds up because if you think about it, I mean, this is basically a guy who's making a lot of his money from automobile manufacturing. And he sees a high-speed rail project spinning up. If you could torpedo that high-speed rail project, then it's probably good for your automobile company. By the way, Hyperloop 1 shut down December 2023, 0 operational systems. Then there's a Boring Company. You guys remember the Boring Company? I hadn't thought about this in a long time until researching this on Musk, but the original vision was 150 mile per hour autonomous pods that run underground, right? So you hop in this pod and you get to your destination super fast. And the reality, what they've actually built so far is they have the Vegas Loop, which is in Teslas, 35 to 40 miles per hour with human drivers for 4 miles. And it took them 4+ years to build it. There were 3 other projects slated, all now canceled. You had the Chicago O'Hare Express, the Baltimore to DC Loop, as well as various LA projects, all canceled. On top of that, Nevada OSHA fined him $400K after firefighters got chemical burn. But Musk, being the connected individual he is, those fines were, quote, summarily rescinded after meeting with, quote, high-ranking state officials. So he greased some people. Maybe he had blackmail. Maybe he said, hey, I'll bring this sort of industry or this sort of factory to your town. Can we just, go ahead and forget about those charges, make them go by the wayside? And it looks like it worked out for him. Finally, the $44 billion bonfire, Twitter, or he purchases it for $44 billion, immediately goes in and humiliates their employees. Basically said, if you're not going to work slave labor conditions, you can get out, which means that any techie with negotiating power went out and got a better job, but you probably didn't if you were on an H-1B visa because you got to keep working to stay in the country. So he got rid of a bunch of the workforce, and the value of that company a year later, down 55% to $19 billion. And by the end of that year, so about 2 years later, Fidelity estimate had them at about a $9.4 billion value, which is down 79% from when he bought it. Spend on the platform also down. Ad revenue went down from 4.5 bill to 2 bill. And again, the workforce was humiliated and driven out and then fired. It was originally 7,500, got cut down to 1,500. About an 80% cut of workforce. Again, eliminating mostly American citizens, because if you were good enough to get into Twitter and you could go for a little bit without a job, why would you work for this guy? Again, we just saved that cherry to put on top at the end of these sections. And the cherry on top of this one is At the New York Times Dealbook Summit, he told advertisers to, and I'm quoting here, go fuck yourself. And now we get to the part that dropped this past week that you've all been waiting for, the Epstein files. On January 30th, the Department of Justice released over 3 million pages of Epstein documents. Buried in there are, at least from what we know now, people are still coming through those, 16 emails between Elon Musk and Jeffrey Epstein. And for a guy who said that he had, quote, very little correspondence with Epstein, 16 emails over 2 years is a lot of a little, honestly. And I want to be clear here, this is not like a conspiracy theory channel. I am going to tell you what is actually in the documents. I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to state what they show, what they don't show, and what that means for Elon. So the documented emails, this is the time period is 2012 to 2014. September 25th, 2012. Epstein invites to his island. Musk says, quote, good, we'll try to make it. November 2nd, 2012. A couple months later, Musk asks, quote, what's a good time to come over between December 23rd and 30th? Next month on Christmas, Musk writes that he wants to, quote, hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. Epstein mentions the ratio on my island might make Tallulah uncomfortable. Musk says, ratio is not a problem for Tallulah. Now, it's hard to keep track of all of Elon's love interests. He's kind of like a young man in college going through a phase. But Tallulah seems to have stuck with him a little bit. They were married, then they got divorced, then they got married again. So that's who he's talking about. Is his wife. I'm not sure in the 2012 to 2014, are they dating? Is she his wife? But his love interest, right? So the ratio, again, this is not in the documents, but ratio, you would assume to maybe be male to female. I don't know. Maybe they're talking about something else. But it's not a problem for Tallulah, Musk says. A couple months after that, Epstein visited SpaceX with, quote, 3 of his assistants. The assistants sent, quote, a copy of all 3 girls' passports. So we know that he either visited or had an intent to visit SpaceX, visit Elon on his home turf with 3 assistants, all women, which call me old-fashioned. Seems a little, I don't know, maybe improper. I don't know. Then they're not in touch for about a year. They link back up around November, December 2013. Musk asks, quote, when should we head to your island on the 2nd? And in December 2014, scheduling note, quote, reminder, Elon Musk to island, December 6th. Is this still happening? What the documents do not show is evidence that Musk actually visited the island. He's not on the flight logs, so far as we know at this point. And multiple planned visits appear canceled or rescheduled. So we do not have evidence that he was on the island. There's a lot of speculation. I will not go there. But we do know that there has been a good amount of correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and Elon Musk. There was in that 2012 to 2014 time period, which seems a little fishy because he was very adamant about saying that they were not really in touch. But there's multiple emails about him asking to come to the island. Things are getting rescheduled. So even if he didn't go, there was certainly planning there, which again, it's a sizable trip. Hop over to a friend's private island seems somewhat significant, maybe less significant if you're a gigabillionaire, but definitely more than a little bit of a casual contact, I would say. And his response, this is just a couple of days ago on X, quote, I had very little correspondence with Epstein and declined repeated invitations, despite the fact that we have quotes here where he is asking, November 2nd, 2012, mentioned this before, what's a good time to come over between December 23rd and 30th? But he handles this. It's okay, guys. Don't get all, don't let your mind wander. He says, quote, on X, was well aware that some email correspondence with him could be misinterpreted. Like interpreted correctly, obviously. What do you mean by that? I'm maybe misinterpreting this tweet. And then the lies, the more you're kind of shaking this tree, are starting to fall out. In 2020, he said Epstein, quote, never toured SpaceX. But this is directly contradicted by the February 2013 docs. So we've laid out all of this evidence across all of his different companies. We've established this pattern, but let's zoom out the lens a little bit and see the constellation that we've been putting together throughout this show. Here's what I keep coming back to. I've been in engineering leadership for a little while across a couple of mission critical industries, including defense tech, including finance, And I know what it looks like in a minute. I can sniff it out when the person walks in the room. I know what it looks like when they overpromise and they're going to underdeliver. And what I've shown you here isn't just a collection of random tabloid controversies that have happened over years, and I'm just trying to put together some kind of hit piece on Elon. That's not it at all. I hope that you're seeing that there is one emergent pattern here, and that pattern is recreated across every single thing that he touches. SpaceX seeking a 100x valuation of their actual profits, while their largest customer is the government, which he tagged up with through DOGE to dismantle it. To recap, you have SpaceX, which they're chasing a 100x valuation on, from earnings to actual valuation, that $1.5 trillion valuation. All the while, their largest customer is the government, which he tagged up with DOGE to take personal revenge and dismantle. Damn the consequences. And to look through the lens of other market dynamics, selling to direct consumer outside of aerospace, you have Tesla, which experienced its first revenue decline. And what does he do? He kills their 2 flagship vehicles, and he decides, let's reconfigure the factory we were using for those 2 vehicles that were generating revenue for us and for our shareholders. And let's try to build some robots that we have no orders for and do not work yet. As of this posting, the stock is at 200 to 300x earnings. So it's even more egregious than, but maybe he's delivered on the tech. He's an engineer, right? All of the media outlets keep telling me that Elon is a genius engineer, and I'm not Elon because I don't work hard enough, and I'm not enough of a genius engineer. I'm not far enough down the autism spectrum. My autism is not as good as Elon's autism because he takes ketamine. And no, turns out he can't even deliver on engineering promises. The most core engineering promise that he's made over the past decade might be full self-driving. There's been a decade of next year, I promise, this will be done, a series of lies, and we still are at level 2. And if this guy is good at lying and conning people, maybe he'd be better at politics. So he tried his hand at that by leading DOGE. 65 conflicts of interest. He gutted the agencies that regulate him. You know what this looks like. This looks like retribution from a man that is paying too much in fines for the consequences of his own foolish decisions. He sought a position of power over his prosecutors and tried to fire them, lay them off, or otherwise drive them out of their positions. Well, maybe hardware engineering and politics and aerospace just aren't his cup of tea. Maybe, again, he's a genius engineer, right? He's a genius is what CNN and Fox News keep telling me is he's a genius. He's a genius. He's he's so smart. He's so smart that you and I couldn't even comprehend. That's why he talks the way he does, is he's so much smarter than us. Joe Rogan says this, that he's a genius, right? Elon's a genius. And as part of his genius plan, because this must be intentional. If he's a genius, he buys Twitter for $44 billion. He crashes the valuation into the ground down to about $10 billion. And then he told the advertisers to go fuck themselves because he's playing 4-dimensional chess, right? He's so many moves ahead of idiots like you and I that could not comprehend his advanced strategy and engineering mindset. Did that go fuck yourselves? I mean, that's going to pay off. That's probably Twitter to the moon, right? Buy Twitter shares today. But at least he's socially connected with the right people like Epstein, right? Even though he said he's humble too. I mean, that's something that I always say about Elon. That's something that I think his closest associates would say is he's just an extremely humble man. And out of that humility, when he's connected to well-known individuals that are involved in various things, he's humble about how close they are. He said that they had, quote, very little correspondence, him and Epstein, that, the essence of humility. And it turned out to be 16 emails. They're actually quite in touch. And we don't know that he went to the island, but they have been trying to get it together. They're 2 reptile people. It's hard to, I imagine, get the calendars to match up to get some free time allocated together, but they were trying to make that happen. And he's humble about that. He says like, oh no, come on, Jeff and I, the Steen, we were barely friends. So it's not even a thing. But yeah, I mean, obviously they were friends. They're sending these emails. They're trying to get a little, some play dates together, let's call them that. Christmas party requests, and he even hosted him for a SpaceX tour. He said, like, hey, buddy, like, come on, come visit me at work. You're my friend, and I'd like to show you where I work, and bring your 3 female assistants with you too. But Elon even denies that the SpaceX tour happens because, like I said, he's too humble. I mean, that would probably make him feel uncomfortable to say, like, yeah, he came and he loved it, and we had fun. So I think the wild kicker about this is, like, he actually probably doesn't have that much money. I mean, like, yeah, he has like a ton of money compared to you and I, but like compared to other gigabillionaires, like a lot of his money isn't real. The figures quoted range a little bit, but we know his net worth is somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 800 billion dollars. But 95% of that plus is illiquid paper wealth. And I'm not trying to boo-hoo him, I'm saying, I'd take 5% of 800 billion happily. But even out of that, he's taken $236 million of his, but out of that, he's even taken 236 million Tesla shares. So that's about 82 billion at the absurd valuation it's trading at, and pledged that as loan collateral. That's a third of his quote unquote real holdings. And he's even described himself as cash poor, which again, it's that humility that I keep saying about Elon. Like if there's one word that I'd use to really describe him, it's that humility. I have never before seen in my entire career a bigger gap between narrative and the reality of the situation. This guy is a con, a charlatan, a fraud, which makes me fascinated by him. But it's not even a question about whether you love him or hate him. It's whether you're going to keep believing the promises or start looking at the data points. I just showed you the hard facts on this. You can make up your mind for yourself. But I know at least for me, I'm pretty sure I know what this guy is. And he's neither a businessman, an engineer, nor someone I'd want to model my own success after if I was looking up to somebody in that position. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you're still here after this longer video, please subscribe. Let me know what you think about this format as well. This is the first longer one I've done in a little while. I know a lot of you are new to the channel, so let me know. Was it too much? Was it not enough? Thanks for watching. And as always, share this with a friend who needs to see it.